class, I want to run through some examples of some of the things we saw happening in class on Friday. I'll tell you some of the strategies for preventing them in the future. So I'm in the hood. We're going to assume that I've already cleaned the hood properly and that I've garbed up properly. I'm not wearing a mask right now because I'm trying to have my voice be clear, but I'm not. I would be properly garbed. I would have cleaned the hood. And now I'm ready to work on some of these examples for you. The first one I want to show you is this right here. There's a little black dot that you can see right at the edge of the fluid. That's a piece of core from the rubber stopper. That's what happens if you do not enter the vial at a 45-degree angle. So if you don't go bevel up like this, motion into the vial, if you go straight down or if you go bevel down, you create that little piece of rubber in there that we talked about, which is usually referred to as coring the syringe. So I wanted to show you that example. So that's that. The next example I wanted to show you was some techniques for getting some of the bubbles out. So I saw a lot of people working to get bubbles out of their syringes. Let me show you some tips that I have. So I'm going to inject air, 5 mLs, and withdraw 5 mLs of fluid in this syringe. Right away I have a lot of bubbles here. And that's because there's air up in the needle, air in the hub, so air gets in there. How do we get rid of that? So you can tap, and you can tap to your heart's content, and you still may not get rid of these small bubbles down here. But one technique I've found useful is to put the needle up in the air pocket of the vial, get a nice big amount of air in your syringe, then tip and roll this around. That pocket of air can be very helpful for coalescing those little bubbles on the bottom. So once you have all the little bubbles gathered up off the bottom in the big pocket at the top, then you can go ahead and push all that air out at one time and then make your accurate measurement now that all the bubbles are out. So there's my 5 mLs. So that's one technique for working with bubbles. There's still going to be teeny little micro bubbles. Don't concern yourself with these. You'll never get these out. Okay, next I want to show you an example of what happens if you create a vacuum in the vial if you do not add air approximately equal to what you want to withdraw. So in this case, I'm going to start with this syringe. I'm going to withdraw 10 mLs, but I'm not going to add any air first. So I'm going to create a vacuum. So when I pull back and I have a vacuum in there, right away you see if I let go of the plunger, the vacuum draws the fluid back up in there. And that's no good for a couple reasons. One of them is it's hard to make an accurate measurement because the plunger wants to move around on you, so it's hard to hold it still. The second thing is when you have a vacuum like that, when I pull this vial off the top, I'm going to spray liquid because of the problem with pressure, the pressure differential. So you may not have been able to see it, but you can, there's some micro aerosolization that happens when you have that kind of a situation. And so I had my 10 mLs measured, but I grabbed a big bunch of air when I pulled the vial off because I was struggling against the vacuum. So that's a reason why we add air and not create a vacuum. What if I overpressurize the vial? So in this case, I'm going to add more air than I want to remove. So I'm going to I'll just try to add 15 mLs of air and then only withdraw 5 mL. So the first thing is there's not enough room here to get all 15 mLs of air in here. So I'm going to have to kind of go back and forth, add a little air, withdraw a little fluid. But you'll see if I get all that air in there, so back and forth, I will have created more pressure in here. So the fluid wants to equilibrate, and so I added 15 mLs of air, and the plunger wants to go back to about 15. So if I only want to withdraw 5 or 10 and I have too much pressure up here, it's the same problem as with the vacuum. I'm fighting against the pressure differential to try to make an accurate measurement, and then when I pull this vial off the top, it's likely to shoot fluid all over. I'll try not to. But it didn't, so there it is. So that's why we're adding air approximately equal to the volume we want to withdraw, so we're not fighting against that pressure differential when we're making our products. So I have a spill here, so as we saw in the video, whenever you have a spill, you need to stop and clean up your workspace. So let me do that here. Okay, the last thing I wanted to show you was, or one of the last things is working with the mini bag. So here's a little bag of 0.9% sodium chloride. There's 2 ports on the bag. This one's where the administration set gets added by the nurse. This is the port where we can add medications or withdraw fluid. So when we're working in a hood and the first air is coming this way, we want first air to go across this port that's got the white seal on it, or the white end. So we can either put the bag this way, so first air is coming at it in this manner. It's real hard to work with it and not block first air if you put the bag in this position. You can put it in this position, turning at 90 degrees. Now first air is crossing over this port this way. If I put the bag in this direction, you can see this port is obstructing the first air from that port. So this is the way you want to do it if you're laying it down flat. And the best way of all is to hang it from a hook, which is why I suggested that in class, that one of you hold the bag for your classmate while they worked with it. So as Dana told us, the port material here at the septum of this bag is made from something different than the vials, and it does not pour as easily, and so you can go straight into this port with your needle, and you want to go straight in. Why? Because if you go at an angle, your needle may go out through the side of this soft material of the port. That of course compromises the bag, it leaks and you have to start over, but also it's a good way to jab your finger. So when you want to withdraw from the bag, you want to be sure that your fingers aren't near this port when you're putting the needle in, and you want to go straight in with the needle. Just like that. I don't have to add any air because I don't have this issue of the pressure, because the bag is pliable and it's just going to collapse as I withdraw the fluid. Just like that. I can go back and forth as much as I need to with a mini bag and not worry about pressure.